Hey there, everybody. It's Roger Bird from the Bridge at Now again with a midweek refresher. Hey, so this week I am the only one at home, so I can be as loud and as obnoxious as I want to be, because there's nobody else in the house, so I don't have to feel weird about talking into a camera in my office with other people right outside the door. So that's just a little bit about what's going on in my day. I'm loving the sunny weather and warm, 40 degrees. Big change from this time last week. Hope you're enjoying it too. So this week we started a new series at the Bridge called Covenant and Kingdom. And if you have come to the Bridge in the past, you might be thinking that sounds familiar. And that's because we did this series about a year ago. But it is very important, and we think it's key to understanding who you are and who God is, and so we're going through it again, and I think it's a really good thing, and we had some really good response from people, both new folks who haven't heard it yet, and from our veterans who have been through it. But it's always are always appreciative to have a reminder. And I'm going to try and keep it short because last week I went long. Last couple of weeks I was really long, and I know it's hard to sit and listen too long, so I'm going to try and keep these down to maybe 5 or 6 or 7 minutes rather than 15 like last week. Sorry, I can jabber on when I get excited about things like I'm doing right now. So anyway, Covenant and Kingdom, briefly. Author Mike Breen, he heads a ministry called 3DM, and he has captured this idea that covenant and kingdom are the two strands of DNA that run through Scripture, that through every page, every chapter, there is covenant and kingdom woven into the Bible. Covenant is about becoming one, and it's about relationship, and kingdom is about rolling up your sleeves and doing the work of the kingdom. It's about responsibility. So covenant is about relationship, kingdom is about responsibility. And that's what we're going to be talking about for the next few weeks. This past week we talked about several chapters of Abraham and Sarah, or Abram and Sarai as they start out, and we looked at them as people of covenant because God cuts this covenant. They use the term cut a covenant because covenant is always accompanied by blood, and so God comes to Abram and makes this covenant with him. And covenant, we don't really understand covenant. It's not really a contract. It's much, much more. The closest thing we have in our culture to covenant would be a marriage. So in a marriage, you have an exchange of names. You share a name. You share a home. You share finances. Like everything that you have is mine, and everything that I have is yours, and it's forever. Theoretically, it's supposed to be forever. That's a covenant. And when God and Abraham make this covenant, what God is saying, he says, all that I have, Abram, is now yours, and all that you have is now mine. And the thing I wanted to touch on, we talked through a lot of this, but the thing I wanted to touch on was the story when God comes to Abraham at that point, and says, I want you to take your son, Isaac, the son of the promise, the son that they had waited for years. Abraham and Sarah had waited for years for this son. He was the fulfillment of the promise that God had given them. And God says, I want you to take your son, Isaac. I want you to take him to Mount Moriah, to the region of Moriah, and I want you to sacrifice him there as a burnt offering. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I know that you don't usually hear pastors say this, but that used to really just tick me off. I used to just get really angry about that story because it was sort of like, where is God get off doing this? Is he like, is he sadistic? Is he, just didn't seem right. It didn't make any sense. Why would God ask this man to sacrifice his son for him? And now, as I'm understanding covenant better, as I kind of am getting to know a little bit more about what covenant meant to them, what I realized what God was doing was he was saying, Abraham, I will withhold nothing from you. There is nothing that I have that I will not give you. Is there anything that you have that you won't give me? will you take your son and will you sacrifice him because I asked you to? And the irony of that whole thing is it makes me mad. I would read it and I would get mad. But when we read, God asks Abraham to do this. He says, I want you to go and sacrifice your son. And then it says, and then Abraham got up early the next morning and he chopped up the firewood for the burnt offering, got Isaac and some of his servants, and they headed out. Early the next morning, there was no hesitation on Abraham's part because Abraham understood what God was saying too. Abraham understood the covenant that he was in with God and that nothing was off limits when you're in a covenant with someone. We know now, we have the benefit of knowing now, is that God was asking that question because what he was really saying to us was, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to give your only son? Because I am willing to give my only son. And that was the plan all along, although Abraham didn't know that back then. We know it. We have the benefit of seeing that now, that God, in his covenant with us, was willing to give up his only son, the thing that he asked Abraham to do, but never followed through and made him do it. God did himself in order to cut a new covenant with us, a covenant in the blood of his own son that would bring the two back together, that would make the two one again. I mean, how exciting is that? We were separated. Our sin separated us from God, and now Jesus has brought us back together so that we can be one. And he says things like, and I'll go and prepare a place for you so that you can be with me. That's all covenant language. It's all marriage language. That's a groom talking to his bride. I'm going to go and build an addition onto my Father's house, and when it's ready, I'll come and get you so that we can be together. It's all covenant. It's all beautiful, and it's what God is calling all of us to, and I hope that we take advantage of it. So this covenant is free. It's a free gift, but it'll cost us everything. Now that's when we see Jesus say things like lay down your life for your friend, or take up your cross and follow me. This is not an easy, this easy, I go down, I pray a prayer, and then I get my bus ticket to heaven. This is about exchanging life. This is deep relationship and the giving of everything that you have to another. That's what Jesus did for us, and that's what he's asking in return. It's not easy, but it's wonderful. It is far more than we could have ever asked or imagined. It's an amazing privilege for him, the creator of the universe, to say, I will give you everything that I have. You have access to all my resources, but I want access to your resources too. I want access to your life. He said, I laid down my life for you, and will you lay down your life for me? And I hope the answer that we can all give is yes, I will do that, because what I have is just a pittance compared to what he has promised me in return. That's all I got for you today. I hope it was helpful, hope it was good, and I hope you're doing well. Hope you get to get out and enjoy some of this sunshine while we got it for a few days. And man, I hope God is blessing you and that you're hearing him speak his words of grace and love to you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.